The news dropped like a bomb and everyone was shocked. On March 11, 2025, former President Rodrigo Duterte was arrested. Can you believe it? The man who once ruled the Philippines with an iron fist, the Tatay Digong of many, was suddenly in custody. This wasn't just some local chismis, this was major news that echoed all over the world. The International Criminal Court, or ICC, issued the warrant. They said it was for crimes against humanity because of the controversial war on drugs that happened during his time. From Davao, he was flown all the way to a prison in the Netherlands. Imagine, from the Malacanang Palace to a detention cell in The Hague, the whole country was glued to their screens, watching history unfold right before their very eyes. It was a moment that no one saw coming, and it left everyone asking, what happens now? For a moment, the entire Philippines held its breath. News channels played the scenes on a loop, the authorities, the quiet transfer, and the headlines screaming about this unprecedented event. He was the first former leader from Asia to be arrested by the ICC, which made it an even bigger deal. People were divided, of course. For his supporters, it was an outrageous act, a violation of our country's sovereignty. They felt that the ICC had no right to meddle in our business, especially since the Philippines had already left the Rome Statute. They believed their beloved president was being unfairly targeted by foreign powers who just didn't understand his methods. It was a slap in the face to them, an insult to the leader they had passionately defended for so many years. On the other side of the fence, there were cheers and tears of relief. For the families of the victims of the drug war, this arrest was a long-awaited moment of justice. For years, they had been crying out for accountability, telling their stories to anyone who would listen. For them, this was not about politics. It was about getting closure for their loved ones. Human rights groups and critics of the former administration saw this as a triumph for the rule of law. They argued that no one, not even a powerful former president, should be above the law. They hoped this would send a powerful message that abuses of power would not go unpunished, and that justice, no matter how slow, would eventually arrive. The initial shock was a mix of everything: anger, joy, confusion, and disbelief. It was the kind of news that stopped you in your tracks, whether you were at home, at work, or stuck in EDSA traffic. Everyone had an opinion, and they were not afraid to share it. The discussions were intense, happening everywhere from the dinner table to the sari-sari store. Families were arguing, friends were debating, and the entire nation felt like it was walking on eggshells. The arrest wasn't just about one man, it was about the legacy he left behind, the deep wounds in our society, and the very different realities that Filipinos live in. The country was a pressure cooker of emotions, and it was about to find a very modern and very strange way to let off some steam. Before the news anchors could even finish their reports, the internet did what it does best. It turned the whole thing into a meme. It was like a digital fiesta of jokes, and everyone was invited. The arrest of a former president, a super serious event, suddenly became the funniest thing on our feeds. Filipinos, with our unique talent for finding humor in even the darkest of situations, went into overdrive. Suddenly, my timeline was flooded with edited pictures, funny videos, and witty one-liners. It was a meme-splosion. It felt like every Filipino with a smartphone became a comedian overnight, using their creativity to process the shocking news. It was our way of coping, our way of talking about something so heavy without completely breaking down. The jokes came in all shapes and sizes, and nothing was off-limits. There were memes of Duterte in a bright orange jumpsuit, just like in the movies, with captions like, "Orange is the new barong." Some creative souls photoshopped him into scenes from popular prison dramas, making it look like he was a new character in Prison Break. The humor was sharp, fast, and often a little bit naughty. But that's how we are, right? We use laughter as a weapon, a shield, and a way to connect with each other. In a way, these memes became the people's editorial cartoons. They were simple, easy to share, and they perfectly captured the wild mix of emotions that everyone was feeling. It was a way to say something without having to write a long, angry post. This wave of humor was also a way for people to share their opinions without starting a fight. Instead of arguing with your Tito in the family group chat, you could just send a meme. If you were critical of the former president, you might share a joke about karma finally catching up. If you were a supporter, you might post a meme showing him as a misunderstood hero, bravely facing his enemies. The memes became a kind of secret language. They allowed us to express our political views in a way that was less confrontational and more entertaining. It was like we were all participating in a nationwide roast, and the topic was the biggest news story of the year. But it wasn't just about making fun of the situation. For many, creating and sharing these memes was a form of catharsis. It was a way to reclaim some power in a situation where we all felt pretty powerless. The news was so big and so complicated, and we were all just watching from the sidelines. But by making a joke, by creating a meme, we became part of the conversation. We were no longer just passive viewers, we were active participants, shaping the narrative in our own small, funny way. It showed the world that even when faced with monumental events, the Filipino spirit finds a way to laugh, to create, and to make its voice heard, one shared meme at a time. Just when we were all having a good laugh, things started to get messy. The fun and games took a dark turn as some memes started to spread fake news. It was like putting poison in a piece of candy. It looked sweet on the outside, but it was dangerous on the inside. Suddenly, posts that looked like real news reports started appearing, complete with logos from well-known TV stations. These posts contained quotes from famous fictional lawyers like Annalise Keating from How to Get Away with Murder or Harvey Specter from Suits. They had these characters saying things that defended Duterte, arguing that the ICC's arrest was completely illegal. The problem was, many people thought these were real quotes from real legal experts. The confusion spread like wildfire. Our nanays and titas, who may not be as savvy with technology, started sharing these posts, believing they were sharing important legal analysis. The lines between satire and reality became incredibly blurry. Was it a joke or was it a fact? It became so hard to tell. You'd see a post with a picture of the beautiful Elle Woods from Legally Blonde with a serious quote about international law, and for a second you'd almost believe it. These memes were designed to look legitimate, and they played on people's trust in familiar faces and news formats. It was a clever but very deceptive way to push a certain political agenda and confuse the public about the real legal issues at stake. The misinformation didn't stop with fake lawyer quotes. The world of cryptocurrency also decided to join the circus. Almost immediately after the arrest, new meme coins were launched with names related to Duterte. Can you imagine? People were trying to make money off the situation by creating digital tokens like Dutscoin or Tatay Digong token. These were promoted as a new way for supporters to show their solidarity. However, it turned out to be mostly a scam. The coins had no real value, and the creators owned most of them, proving that some people will truly try to profit from anything, even a major political crisis. It just added another layer of chaos to an already confusing situation. This mix of humor and lies made it extremely difficult for ordinary people to understand what was really going on. You had to become a detective just to read your social media feed. Is this news source real? Is this quote accurate? Is this person even a real lawyer? The memes that were once a source of harmless fun became tools for manipulation. They muddied the waters so much that finding the truth felt like looking for a needle in a haystack. The very thing that made memes so powerful, their simplicity and shareability, also made them the perfect vehicle for spreading lies quickly and widely across the entire country. So, where does this leave us? We have to ask the question, did all these memes actually help us understand the arrest of a former president, or did they just make everything more confusing? On one hand, you could argue that memes made the news more accessible. Not everyone has the time or energy to read long articles or watch serious legal experts debate on TV. A simple, funny picture can break down a complex issue and get people talking. It sparked a national conversation and got younger generations engaged in a topic that they might have otherwise ignored. In that sense, the meme served a purpose by bringing a critical event to the forefront of pop culture. However, we cannot ignore the downside. The oversimplification of such a serious issue is a huge problem. The arrest of a former head of state for crimes against humanity is not a simple matter. It involves complicated questions of international law, national sovereignty, and justice for thousands of victims. When you turn it into a joke about an orange jumpsuit or a fake quote from a TV character, you lose all that important nuance. The memes, in their quest for a quick laugh, often stripped the story of its gravity. They made it easy to forget that real people's lives were at the heart of this issue, and that the outcome of this case would have profound consequences for the future of our nation. The spread of misinformation through memes is perhaps the most damaging effect of all. In a democracy, it is crucial for citizens to have access to accurate information so they can form their own informed opinions. But when our social media feeds are a minefield of fake news dressed up as jokes, how can we do that? The confusion created by these memes made it harder for people to distinguish fact from fiction, and easier for them to be swayed by emotional arguments rather than solid evidence. It created even deeper divisions in a country that was already deeply polarized, with each side armed with its own set of alternative facts courtesy of the meme makers. In the end, maybe the answer is that memes did both. They helped start the conversation, but they failed to guide it in a productive direction. They gave us a way to laugh through the shock, but they also risked making us laugh at things that should be taken very seriously. The memification of Rodrigo Duterte's arrest is a powerful lesson in how modern communication works. It shows our incredible creativity and resilience, but it also reveals our vulnerability to misinformation. It leaves us with a critical challenge. How do we navigate this new world where the lines between news, entertainment, and propaganda are constantly blurring? And how do we make sure that in our search for the next viral joke, we don't lose sight of the truth?